After a night of passion, Petra and James wake up together early in the morning. Petra rushes out to go to class, but James decides to stay in bed a little longer. This causes him to oversleep, and by the time he wakes up again, he's already late. He runs through the city as fast as he can until he makes it to his philosophy class, where the teacher Mr. Zimmerman at first considers not letting him, but eventually he opens the door. Today is the last school day, and Mr. Zimmerman wants the students to tell them about their favorite thought exercise they've gone through. Chips mentions the infinite monkey theorem, which says that if you give a monkey a typewriter and an infinite amount of time, it will eventually type out the entire Hamlet. Jack mentions the trolley problem, which says you have a lever to choose if a train will kill 1 or 4 people. Just for fun, they change the riddle into the obese man problem, where you have to option to push a fat man on the tracks to stop the trolley. Georgina likes the ignorant bliss paradox. In this one, someone is hanging off the highest tower in the city on purpose to test if their friends will help them. However, the friends are afraid if they try to pull them up, they might be yanked over themselves. So they step back. The person falls and lives. But now they wonder if it truly is better knowing that their friends wouldn't save them, or if ignorance is bliss. Zimmerman decides that they will do one last thought exercise to finish the school year. The class must assume there is an impending atomic apocalypse and imagine a bunker that will give them shelter for a year. Zimmer begins narrating the scene to make everyone use their imaginations, picturing an area surrounded by nuclear explosions. As Zimmer takes them through an imaginary tour of the bunker, he points out the problem. There are only supplies for 10 people. The class has 20 students in it, so they have to decide which of them to let in and who stays out. On top of that, there isn't much time to decide before the atomic radiation reaches them. Georgina refuses to participate because she thinks it's just like discussing eugenics, but when Zimmer describes how gruesome and painful it is to die under radiation, she accepts to play. Petra also refuses to participate and even stands up to leave, knowing that she's always had perfect grades and Zimmerman can't hurt her by lowering them a bit. However, Zimmer threatens to lower James' grades instead, which would make him fail the class, and Petra has no choice but to stay. Next, Zimmer distributes cards containing the random profession each student will have in the exercise. He opens the box for James first, and after he takes a card, Zimmer goes to the desk to cough before handing a card to Petra. Then he coughs again at the desk before giving cards to everyone else. Now the students can look at the professions they got. All these jobs vary in themes, from harpist and wine auctioneer to astronaut and chemist. Toby reveals he's a published poet, but he barely gets to finish talking before Zimmerman shoots him, revealing he took the gun from the bunker. Zimmer explains that this is more humane than letting him die by radiation, since he wouldn't get into the bunker anyway, because a poet isn't useful when humanity must be rebuilt. Zimmerman also explains he's part of the exercise, but his profession is hidden, so he should be seen as a wild card. Afterward, each student defends their right to enter the bunker and they proceed to vote. The first 9 choices are those who they consider useful for survival. Petra, the structural engineer; James, the farmer; Georgina, the orthopedic surgeon; Chips, the carpenter; Jack, the chemist; Bonnie, the soldier; and the electrician, Poppy, the psychotherapist, and almost C, the senator. There are also 9 that quickly get voted out for not being useful. Vivian, the zoologist; Beatrice, the fashion designer; Parker, the gelatin maker; Copy, the real estate agent; Russell, the harpist; Plum, the hedge fund manager; Nelson, the housekeeper; Mitzi, the wine auctioneer; and your chic of the astronaut. The last place must be chosen between Zimmerman and Tommy, the opera singer. Petra thinks a wild card is a risk, but Jack points out that an opera singer is a luxury and he'd rather risk it with Zimmerman, who may have a useful secret. Zimmerman wins, and now that the groups are completed, they take 5 minutes to say goodbye, so they move the desks around to pretend they're having their final words. Suddenly they hear some gunshots and discover Zimmerman has killed everyone who didn't get a spot again, saying it was the humane thing to do. The group is shocked and Petra whispers to James that she doesn't want Zimmerman in the bunker anymore. James makes a plan and asks everyone to gather some plants before going into the bunker, claiming they're keeping them for replanting when they come out. While everyone is separated to do the gathering, James goes to each of them in turn and tells them of his plan. When the time comes, the group enters the bunker and disables the external keypad before closing the door while Zimmerman is left outside. Then they take a look at the different rooms. There's an artificial garden, a day bed, a gym, books and other things to supposedly avoid depression. In the evening, while everyone sleeps on the cots, James meets Petra on the big bed and tells her he can get through anything with her. Once James falls asleep, Petra goes to check on Zimmerman and finds him slowly burning under the radiation. Suddenly Zimmerman holds up a piece of paper that says only he has the exit code. Petra immediately calls the group and they begin arguing over what to do, unsure of believing Zimmerman or not. In the end, they decide to ignore him and they begin to live through the year in the bunker. It's incredibly boring and they barely can keep themselves busy with mundane tasks. Every day, Petra checks on its body, which is slowly rotting, and occasionally a dog comes to munch on it. Once the year passes, the group gets ready to come out only to discover Zoom. It had been right. The lock asks for an exit code. The students proceed to use different methods to try to break the door to no avail. They try to survive a few more days with a few supplies. They have left, but soon they run out, so they decide to end things for themselves for a more humane ending. In class, Zoom, it announces they failed the experiment and reveals his profession as a bunker builder. In fact, he was the one that built that particular bunker, therefore the only one who has the code. The students want to try again, and this time they imagine a new location choosing Monteromo. Once again, Zimmerman runs to grab a gun which Petra notices. Then it's revealed that the cards hide a second characteristic that may influence the votes. James' characteristic is being gay, but he still gets accepted for his farming knowledge, although with fewer votes. Georgina, the surgeon, was exposed to the Ebola virus. So this time she's left out. Plum, the hedge fund manager, always travels with a bag of gold, so she is accepted. Chips, the carpenter, is infertile, but he's also accepted again because of his skills. Petra, the structural engineer, is also an electrical engineer, so she is saved. Andy, the electrician, reveals he has a very rare disease that may kill him at any second. So he's rejected. Poppy, the psychotherapist, can't have children. She's left out. Vivian, the zoologist, reveals she supports Peter, so she has left out again. Jack, the chemist, won the genetic lottery, meaning he'll live long and healthy. So he's accepted again. Copy. The real estate agent is also a midwife. And since they've lost Georgina as their doctor, he gets to stay this time. Parker, the Giotto maker, has no extra characteristic, which means someone else has two, and he's left out. Who Tommy, the opera singer, has two. She can speak 7 languages, but she will develop a throat tumor in 3 years. That won't let her talk anymore. She's left out. Mitzi, the wine auctioneer, has an IQ of 200. Yet, she's left out again. Beatrice, the fashion designer, created a popular brand of women's clothing out of bamboo, but she's also left out again. The same happens to Russell, the harpist, who is autistic. Almost C. The senator will be the first female Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Therefore, she is saved again. Bonnie, the soldier, has eidetic memory and gets saved once more. Nelson, the housekeeper, is an exceptionally kind person, which at first doesn't help him, but he ends up staying when Petra says that they need more boys, and Almost Seat argues that they need more hard and strong workers from the middle class. When Toby the poet is about to mention his characteristic, Zimmerman shoots him again, saying this spot is for him because the group still doesn't know the code. Then Zimmerman gives Georgina the keys to a truck and the people that were left outside immediately try to run away to save themselves. Unfortunately, the vehicle is hit by the explosion. The chosen ones also begin running to reach the bunker just in time, and the boring everyday life begins once again. Later in the evening, Petra wakes up and sees James isn't on his bed, so she goes looking for him only to find him getting frisky with Jack, who turns out to be gay in real life. Petra is hurt and rushes out to tell the rest of the group what she saw. Now, they decide it's time to discuss how they will get together to procreate since Chips is infertile. He doesn't need to help, while Jack and James refuse to participate, because they can't even fake it with a woman for the sake of babies. Bonnie and Cavi are paired together, and so are Almost Seed and Nelson. As revenge for her boyfriend, Petra accepts to do it with Zimmerman, ignoring James when he says she still loves her. While the explosions outside ravage the planet, the three couples get frisky at the same time. After 10 weeks of no pregnancies, Zimmerman points out that they must change couples, saying the girls should have multiple partners. Bonnie refuses, saying they are taking logic too far to solve things and that shouldn't override her consent. Zimmerman walks away only to return with a gun in hand, threatening everyone, but Bonnie to leave the room. The group runs out, but Jack manages to hide behind a corner. And once Sim is distracted, Jack tackles him and makes him drop the gun. Bonnie quickly picks it up and holds Zimmerman at gunpoint, but the guys continue to fight until it overpowers Jack. However, Jack retaliates by stabbing Zimmerman in the ear with a pen. Devastated, Zimmer goes to the front door and puts in the code to open it, bringing everyone down with him. The class has failed the exercise again. James is more suspicious. Now in questions Zimmer's motives for the exercise, mentioning the strange cough he had when he assigned him and Petra the roles, in pointing out that Zimmerman has not coughed since. Suddenly James goes to the desk and grabs the box, running out of Zimmer's reach to open it and discover the secret. It turns out that the box's hidden compartments and James and Petra's cards have been tampered with, meaning they would always get the same results. Gay farmer and double engineer. James wants to know why. Zimmer hates him, in particular. So Zimmer brings up the allegory of Plato Cave. In this allegory, a man lives his whole life chained to a wall and only ever sees shadows and hears echoes, assuming that's how reality truly looks and sounds. One day the man is unchanged and finds that the shadows are caused by bodies and the echoes are caused by voices, discovering that the whole idea of what was real was just an illusion. Zimmerman says that this allegory is something like James claiming that the exercise is meant to confront James about how his privilege has ill-prepared him for the real world. But James doesn't believe him. Zimmerman could have made him something useless like a florist, so he could be voted out since the beginning, but a gay farmer means Zimmerman wanted him to prolong his suffering on purpose. At that moment, Petra interrupts the argument and insists that the exercise should be done a third time, this time with James as a florist. Now their imaginations take them to an island and the apocalypse hasn't happened yet. Zoom, it goes to the bunker to grab a weapon as usual, and he hears a noise but thinks nothing of it. When he goes back outside, Petra joins him and offers him a hug, saying that she knows it's been hard on him. Afterward, Petra asks everyone to trust her to choose who gets to enter the bunker because she has a plan. When everyone agrees, Petra makes her choices and explains her reasoning. Mitzi is saved because a genius wine auctioneer would be smart enough to bring both red and white wine on a trip, ensuring everyone has a good time. Beatrice is saved because dressing boosts self-esteem, which promotes productivity and could save civilization. Toby, second skill, turns out to be champion poker player, so he's saved because he brought cards with him and he'll provide entertainment. Russell is also saved because many people consider autism a gift. Georgina was only exposed to Ebola, but they don't have proof. She has it, so Petra brings her in while promising to pray for her. Who tell me the opera singer may be mute in 3 years, but now everyone could fall asleep to her singing, so she also gets saved. Jack is taken in because of his perfect genes, but he is upset because he'll be without a partner because of his orientation. At that moment, Parker comes out of the closet, so he's saved as well. With only 2 spots left, Petra chooses James. As the chosen ones under the bunker in the classroom, everyone sits together as a team. Zimmerman has been complaining all along